Most of the apps people use every day cost money. Adobe for photos, Microsoft for Office, Chrome just quietly hoovers up your data. At some point, I started wondering, what if you just didn't pay for any of it? Turns out there are free open source alternatives to almost everything, and some of them are genuinely good, like embarrassingly good. And look, I already replaced my browser with Helium, so at this point, replacing everything else just feels like the next logical step. And honestly, a couple of these surprised me, not in the way I expected actually. So starting with photos, because if you can replace Adobe, you can replace anything. The first app is actually Adobe Lightroom alternative, and it's called Rapid Raw. The raw editor you've been waiting for, a beautiful non-destructive and GPU accelerated raw image editor built with performance in mind, just 20 megabytes lighter than a raw image. As far as I know, it's available here for Windows, macOS, and even for Linux and Android, as you can see. So let's go here and let's look for Rapid Raw. I already have it installed, so let's open it right here. Rapid Raw. Let's click here on open folder, and here I will select pictures folder. Here I have some of the standard PNGs, but here I have one raw which I prepared for this program. So let's go start with this one right here. And here on the right, you have pretty much the tone mapper where you can change the exposure, contrast, highlights, or shadows, whites, blacks. And then here we have the color details and stuff like that, and even the color wheels. Details like sharpening and threshold, noise reduction even. Overall, I think that this is a really good program, which is of course open source, and you can pretty much download it here from the GitHub page. I think it's a really good Adobe Lightroom alternative, and as I said before, it works on every single platform. Now the next open source app which I think you should definitely use is Helium browser. Now if you're still using Microsoft Edge on your Windows computer, I think you should definitely here switch to Helium. By the way, this one is also open source, and it's also pretty much available on macOS, Windows, and even Linux. Now here on their website, you can just simply click here on download Helium and download the right version. Now, why do I like Helium so much? Because it has this uBlock origin already built in. Not many of the browsers have this extension built in, but this one has it, and I think it's really, really cool. And you can see here on top that it has this minimal tab bar, and if you right click here, you can go to the browser layout and change this to something entirely different. For example, you can go with classic one, and this one is pretty much the same as any other browser. Then you have dynamic one, which changes dynamically, as you can see. And then here you can also go to my favorite one, which is compact one. And then if you want more Arc browser inspired tabs, you can also go here to the vertical layout if you want to. This browser also gets updated quite regularly. And here you can also pretty much see all of the settings and the privacy and security settings as well. Here, if you go to the privacy and security, you will find Helium services. And here you can see that it will block a lot of the stuff. Pretty much it's also anti-tracker. So I think this is a good thing for this Helium browser. And it also has this really cool icon. As you can see, it looks super clean, like a snowflake or something. This is pretty much the main browser which I use, and it's also open source. Now on Windows, sharing files between devices, it's quite painful. Now, I know that there is a closed source application called Quick Share, which you can install on Windows, but one really good developer actually developed this super cool app. It's called Local Send, and it even works on Mac, Linux, and Windows. So pretty much if you want to send files, for example, from your Android to your Mac, or even if you want to send, for example, from your iPhone to your Windows PC, you can use here Local Send. This is free and open source. I already have it installed on my computer, but if you want, you can also here use the web version. So let's go here and let me show you how it pretty much works. On one of your devices, you will have here this receive button, and once you click here on send, you will find here the device name. For example, here my computer is called Clean Strawberry, and if you go here to send, you can then go here to selection. You can, for example, pick different files, for example, images, and then here you can even pick a folder, and then just simply click here on your nearby devices. By the way, one drawback of this application is that both of the devices will need to be on the same network. So for example, your phone will have to be on the same network as well as your computer, and then here you will be able to see it. That way you can send the files to your other device. So I think this is a really good open source alternative to the airdrop or even quick share. The next open source alternative, it's an alternative to the password manager like 1Password, and it's called Bitwarden. It's completely open source and you can also download it here from their website. I will leave a link for it in the video description down below, by the way. And here I already have the app also installed. So if I go to the Bitwarden password manager, here we can add, for example, log in. So if I click here on new, let's click here, for example, to log in. So maybe we can type in here for the item name google.com like this. Now for the username, I will type in here like this. And then for the password, let's type in here 123. And then if I click here on save, here we have already the credentials for my Google account. So the email and then the password, it's that easy. And then if you want, you can also add your card inside, identity, secure note, or even an SSH key. This is pretty much another open source alternative to the 1Password, for example. Now the next one is Microsoft Office alternative, and it's totally open source. It's called OnlyOffice, and this one is open source, and it's very similar in terms of the UI and everything to the Microsoft Office. So you can see here how it looks. You can see that it looks very similar. You have Word, you have Excel, PowerPoint, and even PDF. So let's click here on document 1. This will be Word alternative, and you can see that it looks very, very familiar. You have here home, you have different fonts, design overall, and the layout of the app is very similar to Word. So that is pretty cool. You have the insert option, draw, layout, references, collaboration, and it works super well as well. It's super fluid. And then here, if I go to the new tab, how can I do this? Only Office. Maybe if we go here to the PowerPoint presentation, let's see if it also looks very similar to the PowerPoint. And yes, it actually does. So here, let's put in lesson 1. Oh, maybe if I click on this start slideshow. Yeah, it's right here and it works super well. As you can see, lesson 1, basic English. So yeah, this is pretty much another open source alternative to the paid options like the Microsoft Office and many others out there. So yeah, this is the OnlyOffice and I highly recommend that you try it. Now, the next one is something really cool. It's called ShareX. So let me pretty much show you how it works. So if I go here, click on ShareX, you can see that this is pretty much the snipping tool on steroids. Here we have the hotkeys, you have the capture options. For example, you can go to the monitor and click on the first one, and now it just took a screenshot of my screen. Then if you go here, you have a window option. You can take a screenshot of window as well, and it's right here. I think this one you should definitely use if you screenshot a lot. Pretty much has a ton of the functionalities compared to the snipping tool on Windows. The next one is open source video editor. It's called Kdenlive. And if I open it right here, then let's go here with the horizontal frame rate. Let's change it to 60 frames. Video tracks 2, audio tracks 2, and let's click here on start editing. On the first glance, I think it looks kind of intimidating. It has a lot of stuff going on here. We have the file, edit, media. So here, I think you will drop your media, and then here down below, you will be cutting it with this tool right here. Now, I think everything looks fine and everything, but I think you should definitely also take a look here at DaVinci Resolve, because DaVinci Resolve, I know it's closed source, but overall it's free and it's miles better compared to the Kdenlive here. In terms of the UI and fluidity, I think it works much better. So if you want to compromise here with the open source and closed source, I think you should definitely give DaVinci Resolve a go. Now, the last open source app on the list, it's Photoshop replacement, and it's called GIMP, and you can see how it looks. It's very similar to Photoshop. It has similar features. Here on the left, as you can see, you have all the tools, and then here you have the canvas pretty much, and then down below you have the layers and stuff like that. One thing which I could add to this is that you can also use Affinity here, but I know that Affinity is closed source, but I think it's miles better in terms of design and the familiarity to the Photoshop compared to GIMP. So if you want to trade, for example, open source to closed source, I think you should definitely here use Affinity here. It's free and it works super well. And here on the right, you have, for example, the different layers. And then here on the left, you have different tools like the gradient tool, as you can see. And then here you can also put in the text tool. Yeah, I think if you are willing to compromise compromise open source to closed source, I think this free alternative to the Photoshop Affinity, it's also a viable option. Yeah, this is pretty much the list of the open source apps I think you should definitely be using. I think they are pretty damn good. If you guys enjoyed this video, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will put every single tool I mentioned in today's video linked below so you guys can easily check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.